Welcome to another installment of Commander Deck Tech. We are doing Nath of the Gilt-Leaf Elf Party Hardy all night long. Why not have a silly name? It's fun! Alright, brought to you by MTG Friends. Let's jump in. Before we get to the Commander, we're going to talk about the different parts of this. So, we got protection, ramp, draw, removal, the Elf Clan, we're calling it, the Elves, of course, discard, and shenanigans. We can't do an episode without shenanigans. And of course, we have our land build. Now, as usual, one of the budgetary conscious things are always going to be the lands. At the end of the segment, we will talk about budgetary swaps that are possible, and throughout it, if there's anything that jumps out, I will mention it. All right, so let's jump in with Nath of the Gilt-Leaf. What is this thing? He is awesome. Nath of the Gilt-Leaf is a 3 black green 4/4 legendary creature elf warrior. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may have target opponent discard a card at random. Whenever an opponent discards a card, you may put a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token into play. All right, the way this synergizes is with those things we're going to lever. We're going to lever the discarding. We're going to lever creating those 1/1 green elf warrior creature tokens. This is tribal, folks. We're dealing with elves, elves, elves. Almost all of them are elves, maybe just a couple that aren't. And we even have a nice little combo in here that is super cool. So stick around for the cards. All right, before we go further, hit that like button, hit subscribe if you're new, and hit the alerts if you want to see all of our episodes. Okay, let's jump in. All right, we're going to start with the protection because, that's what Agadeem has told us we're going to do. All right, Heroic Intervention, a staple in green. It protects everything, makes it indestructible, hexproof until end of turn. Fantastic card. Steely Resolve. You choose a creature type. Oh, is this goblins? No, it's elves. Of course it's elves. Creatures of that chosen type can't be the target of spells or abilities. Sweet. Veil of Summer. I mean, just a great card. Draw a card if an opponent has cast a blue or black spell and you can't be countered this turn, and you and permanents you control gain hexproof from blue and from black until end of turn. I remember when this was banned in Standard, and I just thought, this is such a great commander card. And I'm right. All right, the Elf Clan. This is anything that makes all your elves just beefy and awesome. Coat of Arms. Yes, play Coat of Arms. Each of your creatures gets +1/+1 for each other creature. This gets so big, so quick. It's super duper groovy. Now, it mentions in there Goblin Warriors, but we're dealing with elves, man. Elves. All right, Creekwood Liege. This is in here because it's a 2-drop that gives a +1/+1 to black and to green. So it actually comes in as a 4/4 and it buffs all your creatures by 1. And it has this nice little additional thing at the beginning of your upkeep. You may put a 1/1 black and green worm creature token onto the battlefield. That's just kind of an extra bonus, at least in this build. Door of Destinies. Boy, any kind of tribal deck, you should seriously consider putting this in there. It's 4-drop that you choose the creature type, elves of course, and whenever you cast a spell of the chosen type, put a counter on Door of Destinies. Creatures you control of that chosen type get +1/+1 for each charge counter on Door of Destinies. Mwah! Oh, love it. Vanquisher's Banner. It gives you +1/+1 plus you draw a card whenever you play that kind of a creature. All right, we're into the lands which we're going to blow by really quickly. Agadeem's. It's one of those bolt lands on the other side, which gives you black mana, and it's got return from your graveyard to the battlefield any number of target creature cards that each has a different converted mana cost X or less. Right out of Zendikar Rising. Loving these modal lands in Zendikar Rising. Bayou. Yeah, you're going to play Bayou if you have it. If you don't, because it's not really worth going out and getting just for playing Commander. Or is it? Well, that's up to you and your wallets. You can certainly put in another, like, say, tapped dual land that comes in the battlefield tapped instead of this. I mean, original gangsta. dual land. Cabal Coffers, this is in here because we got some super fun stuff that's going on. For 2, you tap it, add black to your mana pool for each swamp you control. Well, guess what? We're running something else that makes all your lands swamps. Can you guess what it is? Can you guess what it is? It's coming up. All right, same thing, Cabal Stronghold. You tap 3 and do the same thing. Cavern of Souls. Oh, because we're naming elves, we're going to make sure that those can't be countered with Cavern of Souls. Command Tower. Yes, you're going to run that. Of course you're going to run that. Exotic Orchard, in case you're not aware, it's just you can tap for mana of any of your opponent's lands. Forest, we're running 10. Gaia's Cradle. Yes, yes, yes. You can still put something in the comments about, are you kidding me? How expensive this is. You can certainly swap this for another forest or a dual land. And by the way, if you don't have it and you're considering getting it, do not get it right now. It is spiked so much right now. Do not go get this right now. If anything, just run a proxy and be like, hey, sorry guys, I'm running a proxy. Is that okay? But yeah, don't go buy this right now. It is just way overpriced. Redonkulous how overpriced it is. But I'm putting it in because why wouldn't you? Gaia's Reach Sanitarium. This is all for that discard package, which we haven't actually gone into yet. And this is technically a land, so it's not in the discard section. For 2, you tap. Each player draws a card, then discards a card, which synergizes very wonderfully with, you guessed it, your commander. Gilt-Leaf Palace is a dual land just for elves. Comes in untapped if you show one out of your hand. Nurturing Peatland, it is a 1 life, add black or green. And you can also sack it for 1 and tap for a card. Nykthos Shrine to Nyx. You 2 tap, and then you get that many colors for whatever devotion you have. Devotion, of course, just means how much of that mana pips you have out on the battlefield. Swamps, we're running 9. Tainted Wood, another duel that costs you. Actually, this one doesn't cost you. It's a tap black or green to your mana pool. Activate this ability only if you control a swamp, which you most likely will. And then the other modal land in these colors, Golgari colors, is Turn Timber Symbiosis, green on the other side, and look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield if that card has converted mana cost 3 or less. It enters with 3 additional 1/1 counters. Well, a lot of our elves are part of that 3 or less, so that's great. And you put the rest on the bottom of your library. Here we go. Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth. Delicioso. Delicious. Like Dora the Explorer says, this thing is delicioso. Each land is a swamp in addition to its other land types. Yes, folks, you heard it right. I referenced Dora the Explorer in an MTG episode. Yeah. I'm just pausing for that to sink in a little bit. Verdant Catacombs. It's a fetch land. Go grab yourself a forest or a swamp. Love Verdant Catacombs. All right, and then we got some rampy ramp. Arcane Signet. Yes, you run that. Elves of the Deep. Tap for black. Pings you for 1. Elvish Archdruid. Ooh, lovely, lovely. +1/+1 all elves. And you tap green to your mana pool for each elf you control. Well, we're all about putting lots and lots of elves wide on the battlefield. So, bueno. Signet for Golgari. Marwyn the Nurturer. When another elf enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on Marwyn the Nurturer. Tap, add an amount of green equal to Marwyn's power. Good. Oracle of Muldiah. This is all about sifting through your deck. There's a land on top of your deck. You can play it, and you can play an additional one. This is a very awesome staple in these kinds of green decks. Plus the bonus, it's an elf. Yes, sir, elf. And then, of course, you can play the top card of your library revealed, like I said, and you may play lands from the top of your library. Yeah. Priest of Titania, another great mana dork. Tap, add green to your mana pool for each elf in play. Play this ability as a mana source. You can tell this is a really old card because of that last part of that statement. Soul Ring, yep. Talisman of Resilience, same thing, Golgari colors. All right, we're into the elves. Okay, yeah, I digress. I love that word, digress. Abomination of Llanowar, right out of Commander Legends. We got a bunch of really cool elves that came out of Commander Legends, which is part of the thing that inspired this build. Legendary creature, elf horror, vigilance, menace. Abomination of Llanowar power and toughness are each equal to the number of elves you control plus the number of elves cards in your graveyard. Whoa, this thing's fabulous. All right, Allosaurus Shepherd. Ooh, this thing is spendy, but that's because of what it does. It's a 1-drop, 1/1. Allosaurus Shepherd can't be countered. Green spells you control can't be countered. And for 6, you turn them into 5/5 dinosaurs that are also elves. Whew. So if you don't have the budget for this or you don't have the card, just put in a different mana dork or another elf. Deathrite Shaman. This is an oldie but goodie. It does some really cool stuff to make sure your opponents aren't doing a bunch of graveyard play. You can exile an instance or a sorcery from an opponent, or you can exile a creature. Sweet. Dwynen, Gilt-Leaf, Diane, whatever it is. 4/3/4 legendary creature elf warrior. Reach gives the +1/+1 to elves, and when it attacks, you gain 1 life for each attacking elf you control. Sweet. Eladamri, it's a 2-drop 2/2. All elves gain Forest Walk. Plus, it has the added bonus of elves cannot be the target of spells or abilities. Love this card. Love this card. It's a little spendy. You could swap this out for another lesser elf, but not really a card that you're going to replace that easy, although the one that you can replace with is also in this, which I'll show you in a moment. Elvish Champion for 3. It's a 2/2. Oldie but goodie. All elves get +1/+1 and Forest Walk. Elvish Dreadlord out of Commander Legends. This thing is fabulous. It's a little spendy on the 5, but it has Encore. So it's a 3/3 zombie elf with Death Touch. Ooh, an added bonus. And when Elvish Deathlord dies, non-elves creatures get -3/-3 until end of turn, plus Encore. So if you play this from your graveyard, it creates 3 tokens of Elvish Dreadlord attacking. So when they die, they do -3/-3 stacked 3 times. So -9, assuming you have 3 opponents. I can think of a lot of things that die when it gets hit with -9. Lovely. Lovely, lovely. All right, Elvish Harbinger. It is a tutor built into an elf druid 1/2/3 drop that you can go tutor for an elf card, reveal it, then shuffle your library. And it's also a mana dork. Sweet. Add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. So you can go grab some of your utility elves right out of your deck and use them as you need them. Azuri Renegade Leader for 3/2/2 legendary creature elf warrior. For 1, you regenerate another target elf, and for 2 green, elf creatures you control get +3/+3 and gain trample until end of turn. Well, likely your elves are going to be getting bigger and bigger and bigger as the game goes on. Even if you get a few board wipes, you still got enough synergy and enough creatures coming out that you're gonna probably have a pretty good board presence. Gaia's Herald, like I was saying just a little bit ago, creature spells can't be countered by spells or abilities. So very similar, not exactly the same, but it is a great card. Immaculate Magistrate for 3/2/2 Elf Shaman. You tap it, put a 1/1 counter on target creature for each elf you control. Love that. Imperious Perfect. I think I said that right. If I didn't, put it in the comments. 3/2/2 Elf Warrior. Other creatures get, you guessed it, +1/+1. And for a measly green tap, put a 1/1 green Elf Warrior creature token onto the battlefield. We are creating the Elf Army of Doom. Jiraga Warcaller, 1-drop 1/1 with a multi-kicker, which is if you pay for it again, you get to do it again. Jiraga Warcaller enters the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it for each time it was kicked. Other elf creatures you control get +1/+1 for each 1/1 counter on Jiraga Warcaller. Yeah, buddy, this thing's awesome. All right, Liz Alana Huntsmaster, 4-drop 3/3. Whenever you play an elf spell, you may put a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token into play. Nadir, Agent of the Duskanil, also new, right out of Commander Legends. Whenever a token you control leaves the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on Nadir, Agent of the Duskanil. When Nadir leaves the battlefield, create a number of 1/1 green elf warrior creature tokens equal to its power, and it's got partner, which doesn't matter in this build, but hey, something to consider if you're doing something else with this card. Now, it's interesting because if you read that real carefully, it says when a token you control leaves the battlefield. Interesting. But then when it says when Nadir leaves the battlefield, create a number of 1/1 green elf creature tokens equal to its power. So I believe that if it gets exiled, which makes it leave the battlefield, it doesn't say when it dies. I believe this still triggers. Put in the comments if you have a thought about that, but I'm pretty sure I'm right, but I'd love to hear from you guys, your opinions about it. Because this is a brand new card, it has no rules attached to it in that kind of form. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that's right. And there's probably precedent in the past, and I just didn't look it up. So, moving on. All right, Nightshade Harvester, also from Commander Legends. I told you there's some really good new ones in Commander Legends. Whenever land enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, that player loses 1 life. Yeah! Put a 1/1 counter on Nightshade Harvester. So it does some double duty on that. Loving this elf card. Tajuru Preserver for 2/2/1. Spells and abilities your opponent control can't cause you to sacrifice a permanent. Shut that down. Your opponents can't make you sacrifice permanents. Yes, please. Loving that card. Timberwatch Elf. You tap it and target creature gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of elves on the battlefield. Whoa, buddy. Loving these elves. Loving this build. Wildborn Preserver, it's got Flash and Reach. This is right out of Eldraine, fairly new card. I loved drafting this card because I just thought green was so powerful in Throne of Eldraine. When another non-human creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay X, when you do, put X 1/1 counters on Wildborn Preserver. Lovely, lovely, lovely. And speaking of Flash, we got Yeva, Nature's Herald for 4/4/4 Flasher. You may cast green creature cards as though they had Flash. So all your elves get Flash now? That's super groovy, man. Oh yeah, I said groovy, dude. I'm laughing at myself right now. You know, breathe it in, boys. Breathe it in. All right. If one can't make fun of themselves, well, then you make fun of them, right? Beast Whisperer. Whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card. Oh, we're in the draw section. Herald's Horn. It's a great card. You get to choose a creature, which is, of course, elves, and those creatures cost 1 less to cast. And at the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top of your library. If it's a creature card of your chosen type, you may reveal it and put it into your hand. So all tribals should really be considering this card. Occam Adversary, boy, what a great 4-drop for 2/3 Elf Warrior. It costs 2 less if you're playing against somebody that has green permanent, and it's got Death Touch. And on top of that, if it does damage, you get to draw a card. Sweet. Return of the Wild Speaker. Oh, it's not necessarily a staple yet in all green decks, but man, does this thing do some cool stuff. This is draw cards equal to the greatest power among non-human creatures you control. Well, non-humans and non-human creatures you control get +3/+3 until end of turn, so you can make your whole board Gigantosaurus Rex. The Great Henge, oh, one of the, if not the best card out of Throne of Eldraine. One could argue that this spell costs X less to cast, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control, and you can tap it for 2, you gain 2 life, and whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on it and draw a card. Whew, this thing does so many things. And that's why it's kind of spendy. I picked up every single one of these I possibly could when I was drafting. All right, Vampiric Tutor. Yes, it's spendy. It is the tutor of tutors. If you don't have it, can't afford it, or choose not to purchase it, then put in a lesser tutor. Easy peasy. Worldly Tutor. Again, put in a different tutor. However, this is much less expensive than a Vampiric Tutor, and you get to search for a creature, which is super bueno. All right, we're into the discard segment. At first glance, this card is like, dude, 6 mana? What are you talking about? But 1, we have mana ramp because we're in green, and this thing is super jank awesome. You draw 2 cards, and each opponent discards 2 cards. Each player loses 2 life. So that's, if you have 3 opponents, that's 2, 4, 6 elves. that your commander creates if you got him out on the battlefield when you play this. Court of Ambition out of Commander Legends. Another cool one. When Court of Ambition enters the battlefield, you become the Monarch. Now, this isn't a Monarch build, but hopefully you're not playing many people that are playing Monarch, which you typically you aren't. At the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent loses 3 life unless they discard a card. I almost said that wrong. If you're the Monarch, instead, each opponent loses 6 life unless they discard 2 cards. Whew, lovely, lovely, lovely. Elvish Doomsayer, also new. And it's right out of Legends. Whenever Elvish Doomsayer dies, each opponent discards a card. Hymn to Turok. It's a 2-drop. Target player discards 2 cards at random. Yes, discard. You must. Liliana of the Veil. It's a 3-drop 3 legendary planeswalker Liliana. Boy, this thing is super duper old school awesome. It is +1. Each player discards a card. -2. Target player sacrifices a creature. And if you get to the ultimate, bravo. Separate all permanent target player controls into 2 piles. That player sacrifices all permanents on the pile of their choice. That's so mean. You could like put all their lands in one and everything else in the other. Oh, make sure you chuckle inside. Liliana, Waker of the Dead. Another great Liliana. It's a 4-drop 4 legendary planeswalker Liliana. +1. Each player discards. Each player, that's lovely, discards a card. Each opponent who can't loses 3 life. So they must discard one unless they can't. That's really important to notice that wording. -3, target creature gets -X until end of turn, where X is the number of cards in your graveyard. And its ultimate, which bravo again if you get to it. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. It gains haste. Ooh-wee. Loving those ultimate emblems. Alright. Oh boy, Sword of Feast and Famine for 3. It's +2/+2 and has protection from black and from green. But most importantly, whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, that player discards a card and you untap, all lands you control. Those swords are so great. Thoughtseize. You can tease this one out because it only costs 1, and target player reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card from it. That player discards that card. You lose 2 life. Vicious Rumors. At first glance, you're like, this is kind of garbage because it's a sorcery and not an instant. But it's groovy because Vicious Rumors deals 1 damage to each opponent. Each opponent discards a card, then puts the top card of their library into their graveyard. You gain 1 life. So it gives you like 3-4 things to do that are awesome. Alright, Waste Not is because we have a bunch of discard stuff going on. Whenever an opponent discards a creature card, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Whenever an opponent discards a land card, add 2 black to your mana pool. And whenever an opponent discards a non-creature, non-land card, draw a card. So this is giving you stuff. I keep wanting to say groovy. I'm going to stop saying groovy. It keeps levering things for you. Each time they're throwing stuff out. It's just so great. Abrupt Decay. This spell can't be countered. Yes, indeed. Destroy target non-land permanent with converted mana cost 3 or less. Oh, we're in the removal section now. Assassin's Trophy does it even better because it's permanent. So this can even target lands. And yeah, they get a land for it, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. Force of Vigor costs you nothing if you exile a green card from your hand rather than pay the mana cost. And it's destroy up to 2 target artifacts and or enchantments. Or you just pay the 4 and still gonna destroy some cool stuff. Reclamation Sage. You got an elf that does the same thing. It enters the battlefield. You may destroy target artifact or enchantment. Woohoo! Alright, Viridian Zealot does the same thing for 2. It's a 2/1 where you pay 2, sacrifice Viridian Zealot, destroy target artifact or enchantment. And then we got some shenanigans. This is a win condition, of course. Craterhoof Behemoth. It's a 5 green 5/5 haster. When it enters the battlefield, creatures you control gain trample and +X until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. Fantastic. That's going to make your board so gigantic. It's just going to be a behemoth on top of behemoths. Can Kindred Summons. This is a 7-drop where you can start pulling a bunch of elves out of your deck. Choose a creature type, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal X creature cards of the chosen type, where X is the number of creatures you control of that type. Put those cards onto the battlefield, then shuffle the rest of your revealed cards into your library. Oh, let's dump an army of elves out onto the battlefield with Kindred Summons. Opposition Agent, busted crazy brand new addition to our arsenal of cards in black from Commander Legends. It is a 3-drop, which is great. It's a 3/2, this is great, which is a human rogue flasher, which is amazing. You control your opponents while they're searching their libraries. It is a hate card for searching tutors and fetch lands and all of that jazz. While an opponent is searching their library, they exile each card they find, which is you doing that. You may play those cards for as long as they remain exiled, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast them. Wow, I think this is going to be an auto-include in every single black deck I play. And you can consider doing it too. Putrefy. Destroy target artifact or creature. It can't be regenerated. Sadistic Hypnotist. This is specifically in here because it is a combo with your commander. It is sacrifice a creature. Target player discards 2 cards from his or her hand. Play this ability only anytime you could play a sorcery. So when you sack a creature and they have to discard 2 cards, then that means that your commander creates 2 elves, which you can then sack one of them. Do it over again until nobody has any cards in hand. I love this combo. This combo is fantastic. And look at that. It's only a $1 card. What a combo. Love it. Tiny Bones! At the beginning of each end step, if an opponent discards a card this turn, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. We're great with that. And for 6, each opponent with no cards in hand lose 10 life. Can you imagine playing this thing and then have enough mana to do that right after you use the last card? And oh my goodness, sadistic craziness. Lovely, lovely, lovely. All right, so that's where we're at, folks. Nath of the Gilt-Leaf. It's a 5-drop 4/4 elf warrior with all sorts of discard fun, all sorts of token generation, all sorts of elf synergies. Love it, love it, love it. All right, so this deck has a couple cards, at least as of this recording, that actually haven't even come out yet. So this is going to be super fun to play. This is going to be super elf-tastic. Haha, see what I did there? Hit that like button, hit subscribe if you're new, and hit the alerts if you want to see all of our additional episodes. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you put comments in the comments field. We will respond to every single comment you make. Put it in the comments. All right. Check you later. Or actually, technically, you'll check us later.